Hello and welcome. This is going to be a lesson on points, lines, and planes. As you can see, points, lines, and planes. This will be the same as section 1.1 in the McGraw-Hill textbook. So the essential question today is how can I recognize and represent points, lines, and planes? So the first thing we're going to do is start highlighting any of the key terms like points. That's going to be highlighted in green. Lines will be highlighted in green. So we're going to highlight every key vocabulary word in green today. So the first thing is points. They're going to be locations. So a point or points are locations. They actually have no shape, nor do they have any size. Let me rewrite that, size. So how do I sketch this? Well, a point, you just put a dot. And technically, it doesn't have any area. It's just a location. And let's say this is point A. So I'm going to put an A next to it. That's capital. So what we're going to say is we're going to say that is point A. And how do I write it? Well, you're just going to use that capital letter A. And there's things that you should know. Well, it's going to be always capital. We will always use capital letters for points. And that is something we're going to highlight in yellow. So anytime that you have a key critical piece of information, we're going to highlight that in yellow. So now let's talk about lines, which we highlighted in green. They are made of points. So there's a lot of points that are going to be strung together, and they actually have no thickness. So they have no thickness, nor do they have any width. So how do you sketch a line? Well, very nicely, you just draw a straight line, and I put two arrows at the end. So lines will go on forever and ever. And I'm going to put two specific points on that line, P, and let's put Q here. So we're going to call this line. And let's put a little, let's put a little lowercase m next to it. So we can actually name this line little m, or we could do it as line PQ. And those are capital points, capital letters P and Q. So, and then again, how can I write it? It's very similar to how you actually say it, which you'll just say line M. Or again, in this case, you could do P and capital Q, capital P, capital Q, and you're going to put a line symbol above it with two arrows. You could actually go the other direction, QP, and have that as well. So those are three ways we can actually write that. Now, there is only one line through any two points. So we're going to talk about this later, and it is a postulate we're going to talk through. And this is also a piece of key information that you need to know. So we're going to highlight that in yellow. So let's go ahead and move all the way up here to go ahead and talk about line segments, rays, and planes, which those are all new vocabulary for most of us. So we're going to highlight those all in green. And we're going to sketch them and tell you how to say it and how to write it. So the first thing is a line segment is very similar to a line, except we're just going to have ending points. So again, this we could do P and Q, and we could say line segment, and then PQ. And again, those are all capital. And in this case, how do we write it? We could do PQ again, but there's going to be no arrows this time. It has to be no arrows. Or we could do QP as well, again with no arrows. So that would be how you would write that. A ray, on the other hand, it will have something called an endpoint. So it has something here, and we call this an endpoint because it will stop here, and then it actually goes forever in the other direction. I'll put another point here so we can actually name this ray. So if I used P and Q again, in this case, we would say it's ray PQ. And we cannot say ray QP because it is actually directional. There is an arrow going away from P. So it has to go in this direction. This end point is kind of a starting point in my idea, and it goes onward. But most books call this an end point because the line will coming from infinity to the right here, all the way up here and ending. So how do I write that? Well, we have to go P then Q, and then put a ray symbol like that. So P then Q, and then there's only one arrow with that. And then we always draw it this direction for that, but you can't do QP. Okay, the last definition here is a plane, which is a flat surface. So it's like a sheet of paper. It's made of points that extend forever in all directions. So like a sketch, I just do kind of like a parallelogram looking kind of thing, or a sheet of paper that's slanted, and then I put some points in it. So I put like a point, let's say a B, let's put like another point like C, and let's put another point like a D. Now those are how we can name this. Also, we can actually put a capital letter that has no dot next to it, and that would be the name of the plane if it's in one of the corners here. So we can actually call this as plane K, or we could say this is plane, and we could order this in any way, but I like to do alphabetical, B, C, and D. We have to have three what we call non-collinear points, or 3 points that are not on the same line. So through any 3 points not on the same line, we can create this plane, which this is a key piece of information, and I will reword this as it says. There's only one plane, there's exactly one plane through any 3 points that are not on the same line. So that's also a key information fact. So how do I write that? So you can just write it as exactly like that over here. So that is the same as how you would say it. You'd have to write plane BCD or plane K. You could actually write it as plane DCB or CBD, any way you want to arrange these numbers, or sorry, letters for these points. I always like to do alphabetical. Okay, so let's do our first example at the end of this page before we flip it. And it's just looking at these and determining what they are, and then how do I write it. Only just one way. You can write some of them multiple ways. So first off, this stops on both sides. So this is a line segment, and I can write it in any order. So either SR or RS, and I have to use this symbol right here. Now this one goes on forever and ever. This one is a line right here. So I'm going to use this line button. And we can do, again, UT, or TU, and we have to use the line symbol. The last one here is going to be the ray, because it stops in one spot and goes on forever, so we have to use this symbol. Let's actually put this in a box here. And we have to go Q and then P, and then we use that arrow here. That's how we would do this. Again, it's a segment because it's a part of a line. The whole line goes on forever. A ray is part of a line, but it has going on forever in one direction here.